Yes. What is the one fear?
What would you say? If you look at the dynamic of this world, what is the one fear? Especially the primary fear in the United States.
Of being who
You're
we,
not going to have enough money. Money, 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 money. Everything is money, 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 money. Money. Jingle, dinero, pesos, money, gold, silver, cryptos, money. You got to have money. And you have to work for it, right?
well, that's the belief.
Well, that's one of the beliefs. Some of you believe that. Others of you believe that you're entitled to have whatever you wish. Well, it's true.
Hmm.
So, this is a discussion. You think that we're just going to give you the answers here? No.
Well,
You
there's,
have to ask us real questions that show us that you understand. Ooh, you mean I have to work too?
yes, I do. All right. So
Mhm.
I've talked about fear of success. You've asked me to codify that into one thing. And now you've said, well, let's look at, and it seems to be primarily about there being enough money.
Well, but isn't that no? Take the money off of that statement, and you're being very accurate.
Is there enough? The question is there enough?
Right.
That's the real fear.
And is that not the dynamic that ultimately is at the bottom of all of the dynamics of competition and comparison of the Darwinian paradigm of survival of the fittest? There's not enough, you are not enough, and
You must
you
compete.
will never be enough.
So that statistic that we have recently unearthed that shows that in fact
It's
there
only going
is
to
enough.
take a fraction of a penny in order to provide for all of the dynamics of food, shelter, and healthcare for all 8.2 billion people on the planet.
All right, so this belief that humanity holds as truth, that there's not enough, how do we, other than bringing up facts like realizing that, in fact, a fraction of a cent could take care of these three basics for everybody, a fraction of a cent on every financial transaction that goes on
Yeah, right. It's
worldwide.
only on the financial transactions, isn't it? It wasn't even because there's a division here. There are certain things that are natural, what we would call natural monopolies,
Hmm.
where, it should be a collective effort that provides for a certain measure of subsistence
Hmm.
or whatever you would wish to call it for everyone.
Survival floor is how I've seen it listed.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to get away from the dynamic of survival because it's more than survival. It's everyone being able to have a dynamic, you can call it universal basic income, but everyone having enough wherewithal that they don't have to worry about survival, either food, water, or shelter. And again, an advanced civilization might throw in healthcare and
Yes.
education in order to really bring things full circle. But even just getting humanity to the point where it will accept the dynamic of that just simply because you're alive. Simply because, from our perspective, because you are spiritual beings, because you are divine beings, you are entitled to have at least your survival needs met. If you begin and you do this and you realize that out of all of the financial transactions that take place on a daily basis, that it only requires 0.0024 cents per dollar
Mhm.
to provide those things for everyone else. So, in fact, it is just a minuscule fraction of the dynamics of energy that are going on. It just takes will. It takes the will to be able to do that. And that begins the whole dynamic of does humanity have to be enslaved in order to move forward? Do you have to be in a survival situation to continue to move forward, to continue the expansion of consciousness? Or have you gotten to the point of competition and comparison in your world where you are willing to look at things and say, the old way has not worked, so why don't we try something that's less violent
Mhm.
and more equitable? And isn't that true equity?
So you're talking about just simply using logic and reason to step out of the patterns that even
No,
though,
we're actually saying look at it logically and reasonably and add your heart.
of
You
course,
know, if there was no dynamic of competition and comparison, if you did not need to compete with each other in order to survive, why wouldn't you provide that dynamic for everyone? And if you are a go-getter and you wish to earn more, there's the rest of the dollar that that is beyond the 0.0024 cents.
right, that can be used.
That
There's plenty of
that
room.
can be earned, that can be created, that can be manifested, that can be any number of dynamics. What if that stress were taken away? No, no, that's hypothetical
It is hypothetical, but it
and
brings,
rhetorical. But we wish people to get to the point where in your minds you can see it. You can see the possibilities. You can feel the possibilities, feel the safety of what it would mean to not have to earn a living.
well, it's been said by somebody out there in the universe that why should you have to pay to live on a planet you were born onto? Um, and what I'm finding is that when I bring this possibility, bring this statistic up to people, which I find to be stunning, that I get almost immediate yeah buts.
Oh, sure, of course. Well, it couldn't possibly be that easy, could it? And you know, the thing is that you don't have to do it yourself. You can have AI do it.
Hmm. It's not as though we don't have the capability.
But it's really you working with AI. It's taking you a little bit of what shall we say, multi-level questioning to have AI understand the dynamic of what you were looking for,
Yes,
and that's a story unto itself, which you may write about.
perhaps. I didn't think it was that much of a story, but it did
It
require
is
what it required
because
was
it's a metaphor for the whole dynamic. It's a up-to-date metaphor of now.
a metaphor in terms of, I'm not seeing the metaphor. Yes, yes, we could go into hair color disparaging remarks here, but it takes a little bit of work and it took a bit of having my mind be beyond the AI so as to be masterful with it.
Of course. But that's how you work with AI, is you work with AI from a place of equality.
Yes. And
It's like having a big adding machine.
well, teaching
No,
it.
it's like having a big adding machine. If you look at it in that context, they will cease to have the fear that so many people have of it.
Hmm.
No, and as we like to say, technology is what's going to save you, but it's a heart-centered technology.